Still having trouble choosing your team? Choose Team Instinct if you think your Pokemon are naturally talented and you can win by trusting your gut. Choose Team Mystic if you see science as the way to get your Pokemon ahead. Choose Team Valor to focus on your Pokemon's strength and tenacity. Choose Team Vinyl Me Please if you want an exclusive new vinyl record delivered to your door each and every month. Check the link in the show notes below to find out more. Vinyl, gotta catch 'em all. Hey YouTube, Wes here, checking in with a brand new episode of The Vinyl Survivor. This is where I talk about the records I've been listening to recently, the ones that were new to my ears. I sort of give you a bit of history and stuff and a bit of information on each one, let you know what I thought of each one, let you know whether they're going to be staying in the collection here or if they weren't for me. Before we get into this episode, I just want to say that I have started a brand new vinyl-only Instagram account. It's Wes Spins Vinyl. I'll put a link in the show notes below, and I'll probably put the name of it on the screen here so you can find that pretty easily. I've been posting just photos of the records I've been spinning recently, information on each one if I think it's interesting or something that relates specifically to me and why I have that particular record or why I'm playing that record. If you want to follow that, I know some of you have followed my main Instagram account. I don't post any vinyl on my main Instagram account. If you want to follow vinyl related Instagram account that I have created, it's Wes Spins Vinyl. Let's go ahead and get into this episode of The Vinyl Survivor. I believe we're on episode number 120. The first album I have to talk about today is the 17th album from the soul singer Isaac Hayes, titled U-Turn from 1986. I picked this up at the Gainesville Records Show last year. I wasn't sure what I was going to get with this, being an 80s Isaac Hayes album, and it definitely has a very dated sounding production to it. Kind of not very interesting, kind of lackluster. Very sort of its time, I guess you could say, as far as R&B goes. A lot of drum programming and synth programming kind of stuff, and it's kind of just not interesting musically. Yeah, so it just wasn't for me. I think my favorite track on here was "You Turn Me On," but for the rest of the sound, it just wasn't that interesting. I think "You Turn Me On" had a kind of an interesting synth line to it that I liked quite a bit. And this is on the Columbia Red and Orange label. It's Isaac Hayes, U-Turn, not for me, not staying in the collection. All right, next thing is one, doesn't need much introduction. I won't spend much time on it. I'm sure you all know it. It's Led Zeppelin 3 from 1970. Of course, their third album. The gatefold, and of course this one does feature the spinning cover. Always love the cover on this, and nice to have this. And it's on the Orange and Green Atlantic label. This one happens to have "So Mote Be It" on both sides in the dead wax. Sometimes this one side said "So Mote Be It" and "Thous Doest Will" or something, I think, is the other side. Different things they put in the dead wax. But anyway, a decent listening copy of Led Zeppelin 3. So have that in the collection. I'm going to be keeping that one. Next up is a bit of a novelty from the 80s. That is Mr. T's Commandments from 1984. This is Mr. T doing some sort of PSA type raps, sort of about, helping telling the kids to stay off drugs and be careful around strangers and those kind of things that we had in the 80s. Kind of interesting. This does happen to be a gold stamp promo copy. It does have an insert with lyrics on it, talking about say no to drugs, no to alcohol, get good grades, kind of thing. Kind of interesting. Interesting, as I said, an interesting novelty record. This one's also on the Columbia Red and Orange label. An interesting thing about this is that Ice-T actually wrote a lot of the raps on this. Mr. T did write some of the raps, but it was mostly Ice-T from what I have learned on this one. So kind of an interesting bit of history. I picked this one up at the Gainesville Records Show last year. This actually sells for quite a bit of money, so I think in the end, this is just not something I want to keep. I think I'm going to end up selling this. I'll probably be listed on my Discogs store at some point in the future. A fun novelty, but not something you really pull out to listen to. So Mr. T's Commandments is not staying in the collection. All right, next up, staying in the sort of hip-hop genre, but moving into the 90s and something completely different. That is the album from 1994, the only album from this group. The group is named Spade, and this is the album Ghetto Destruction. The Spade was a all-black metal hip-hop band. Very hard, very thrashy. Definitely can be related to Body Count. They were from South Central LA, so they definitely have some very hardcore lyrics, some very, very political lyrics. Definitely a lot of these songs are still relevant today, particularly even more relevant today than ever. So a really awesome album, and this is something I picked up back in the 90s, and it kind of, can't say I really got into it that much in the 90s. I had it, but I was glad to find this on vinyl last year at the record show, and yeah, as I said, this is definitely very timely in its message and in its politics. Really cool sort of hip-hop metal sort of blending of genres and blurring of lines, and just an awesome album. I wish this band had gone on to do more. I wish they had found some success with this. They could certainly come back today, and I think they would have some a better chance of being popular nowadays. The vinyl itself, 2 LP set, black vinyl. Nothing fancy, being from the 90s. As I said, I was surprised to find this on vinyl, period, at all. I did not know it was on vinyl, but yeah. That was a cool find to find that. Spade, Ghetto Destruction, definitely a lost hip-hop classic, in my opinion. Something that people should be revisiting now, definitely. Definitely now more than ever. This should come back, and definitely check this one out. Don't sleep on this one if you're into hip-hop or metal, or both. So, Spade, Ghetto Destruction. This one is a prized piece of my collection now, and I'm glad I have it. All right, next up, I have another album from the band Nectar. This is their sixth album titled Recycled from 1975. Nectar are a progressive rock band, a very spacey progressive rock band. This one is very, very spacey, very, very electronic, sort of interesting, spacey kind of stuff here, spacey prog stuff. Really did like this one quite a bit. Killer artwork here, and that is on the Passport Records label. Good label, features a lot of really cool stuff that I like, so always look out for that label. Some of you might be familiar with Nectar's A Tab in the Ocean. This one, I can recommend this one too, and this one will be staying in my collection as well. So another piece for the Nectar collection, and I liked it quite a bit. All right, next thing I have to talk about is an album from The Rumor titled Frogs, Sprouts, Clogs, and Krauts. The Rumor are best known for the backing band for Graham Parker. And this has somewhat of a Graham Parker pop sensibility to it, but they are their own band, and it's definitely different from a Graham Parker album. And I actually quite like this quite a bit. It's a really good sort of pop rock kind of thing, late 70s pop rock. 78 is the date on this one. It doesn't dive into sort of a disco-y thing at all. It stays in the sort of firmly in the pop rock genre. If you're into like 10cc and those kind of bands, kind of along those lines. Yeah, really, really enjoyed this one. I was surprised. Wasn't sure what I was getting into. I think I paid $1 for this. Yeah, I paid $1 for this at the record show last year. Happens to be a DJ copy. I don't remember if it's a white label or not. There's the insert. Some liner notes on it. Doesn't appear to have any kind of special label, just an Arista label that I'm not real familiar with. I have not seen this Arista label before except on this album. But yeah, if you like that 70s smart kind of pop rock kind of thing, check The Rumor out. I like them. All right, next thing I have to talk about is a soundtrack done by David Bowie for the film Christian F. This is from 1981. I think David Bowie either plays just a singer or he plays himself in this movie. I don't remember exactly what it is, but the movie heavily features David Bowie's music. So you got Heroes on here, Station to Station. There are a few tracks on here that this is the only way you can get them. There is a German version of Heroes, I believe, on here, which is kind of cool. TVC 15 and Stay are only available on this album. There's a couple other rare tracks. As I said, the German version of Heroes is kind of rare to get, and then the rest of these are from the Berlin period of David Bowie's career. And there's the original inner sleeve. Lyrics on there. On the RCA Victor label, being David Bowie. So yeah, if you're collecting Bowie and you want to be a completist, I definitely say keep an eye out for this one. Maybe you can find it somewhere. It does have some rare stuff on it. It's not just sort of a compilation. Really interesting soundtrack, and maybe I'll try and find this movie sometime. The photos on the back make it look kind of interesting. So that one's staying in the collection. All right, next we have another album from 1980 here. This is Chipmunk Punk. This was the rebirth of the Chipmunks. The original creator's son restarted the Chipmunks sort of thing. He did the voices for it. His father had done the voices starting back in the 60s when the Chipmunks originally came out. But these aren't necessarily punk songs. They're more sort of power pop kind of stuff, I would say. You got Call Me by Blondie, My Sharona, Billy Joel's You May Be Right, Crazy Little Thing Called Love from Queen. Bunch of interesting stuff from the late 70s time period there, done by the Chipmunks. So this was a fun little novelty to listen to. Enjoyed listening to it. Just a plain sleeve there. The Excelsior label as the sleeve showed. So yeah, as I said, this is just kind of a neat novelty. Not something that I'm going to be keeping around in my collection. It was fun to hear, fun to listen to, fun little dollar pickup, but not going to be keeping that one. All right, next up, I have a 12-inch single for the Beck song Sex Laws from 1999. Once again, something I picked up at the Gainesville Record Show last year. It's got 3 different versions of Sex Laws, and then it also has the song Salt in the Wound. Enjoyed the song, and this happens to be on Coke bottle colored vinyl. Really cool, pretty neat. And again, this was a dollar pickup at the record show last year, so it was a cool piece to find, and I do like Beck, so it's nice to have this in the collection. 12-inch for Sex Laws, staying in the collection. And last but definitely not least, we have the 5th album from the band Tangerine Dream from 1974. This is their album titled Phaedra. Really, really awesome, spacey rock kind of stuff. Again, along the lines of Nectar. Really, really electronic, spacey, cool stuff. This one does have a little bit of water damage on it. Couldn't pass this one up. I think this was $1 as well. Really neat find. This happens to be the first Tangerine Dream album where they used a sequencer. So they were able to sort of build up the sounds more with that. It's kind of cool. A Virgin International label. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Vinyl Survivor. Hope you dug it. Leave me a thumbs up if you liked it. Give me some comments down below or questions if you have any. And hope you're having a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe if you're not already so you can be kept up to date to all future episodes. And thanks again for watching. See you again next time. Have a great day. Cheers.